celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Friday, June 14, 2019, and here are some of today's trends in the news on the market front over there in Asia. Nikkei up, but everybody else is down. Down over there in Europe, down in the USA. Oil up a little bit, gold down a little bit, and Bitcoin keeps bouncing higher. So what's going on? Stocks fell on Friday after a sharp decline in Broadcom shares put other chip makers and the broader tech sector under pressure. You know what that is.
Warning, bullshit alert.
What bullshit? The market's moved on Broadcom. Yesterday it was Disney. Yeah, tomorrow it'll be Mo, Larry, and Curly and Mickey Mouse that move the markets. Anyway, Dow, just to make it clear, the S&P 500 and NASDAQ are all up more than 4% for June. So now they keep talking about trade wars. The markets are almost going to hit a new high recently, but they've been backing off. It has nothing to do with trade wars. The markets are peaking as we are forecasting. They may go up a little more, but the global economy and the U.S. economy is on a downtrend as we see it. And next week, the Federal Reserve holds their two-day meeting, and we're going to see if they're going to lower interest rates, which we say they're going to lower them at least 4 times before the end of the presidential reality show in 2020. And they'll possibly lower them even more. Now, U.S. retail sales rose 0.5% in May, and that was a bit below expectations, but April's retail sales were revised upward. And what happened? Well, gold was up 1% today. It hit that $1,350 an ounce mark, only $35 away from our breakout point. Poof! But then it went down. And why did gold go down? Because of those positive U.S. retail sales in May, and what they're saying is that maybe the Fed won't lower interest rates, because the lower interest rates go, the cheaper the dollar goes, the higher gold goes. But we don't believe this at all. We don't think the Fed is going to put a pause on interest rates at all. They're going to lower them. Oil. All right, we know what happened yesterday when there was a couple of oil tankers that were hit in the Persian Gulf over there. And that drove oil prices up briefly for 4%. But then they went back down. If there was real trouble in the Persian Gulf, we'd see these oil prices spiking. And who did it? Well, of course, the United States is blaming it on Iran. I'm blaming it on Saudi Arabia. I'm blaming it on the United Arab Emirates. I'll tell you what, maybe even the United States, because so they could drive oil prices up higher. That's right, as I keep saying. Saudi Arabia needs Brent crude at $100 a barrel. And now it's what, in the 60s, 62? So oil is still in bear market territory this year, down some 20%. So I think they did it. Anyway, moving on to some other economic news. What else do we have? China. Talking about economic news. China's economy showed further signs of weakness last month, with industrial output posting its slowest growth in 17 years. It's because of trade wars, and that's why they're not buying cars, and the car numbers stink. And if you believe that, then you believe a lot of...
That was bullshit.
It's a slowdown. They've been propping these things up artificially, and the Chinese government's dumping a ton of money in there to keep propping up this phony scheme. And industrial output in China rose just 5%. By the way, that's the slowest since 2002. So things aren't so good. But retail sales over there went up a little bit more than expected. This is from Morgan Stanley. Economic indicator just suffered a record collapse. Morgan Stanley's Business Conditions Index, which captures turning points in the economy, fell by 32% in June to a level of 13 from a level of 45 in May. This is the largest one-month decline on record and the lowest level since December 2008. Oh, 2008. Panic of '08. Who coined that term? I did. Took out the domain name in 2007. What's going to happen next? You know. Subscribe to the Trends Journal at trendsjournal.com and you get the answer. You know what's going to happen. The Greatest Depression. When? You know our forecast. It's all in your journal. Bond King Jeffrey Gundlach now sees a 40 to 45% chance of recession in the next 6 months and 65% in the next year. Guess he's been reading the Trends Journal. It's worse than that. Worse than recession. Now remember, the S&P 500 is still up more than 15% this year. So all this BS about trade wars, the thing wouldn't be going up like that. Cheap money, monetary methadone, and keeps those gamblers in the game. They keep borrowing money, stock buybacks. Keep it going. And what happens with cheap money? Bum, ba, ba, ba. U.S. homeowners rush to refinance after bond rally depresses borrowing costs. Applications to refinance home loans rose 47% for the week to June 7th, reaching the highest levels seen in November 2016, shortly before the U.S. Federal Reserve increased the pace of interest rate rises. Low borrowing costs also lured home buyers, with purchasing index rising 10%. Okay? So you got it. Cheap money. But where did cheap money? Who did it help? It helped the 1%. Don't believe me? Of course you do. And even CNBC, this is one of their reports, not the World Socialist Organization. Quarter of Americans are worse now than before the Great Recession. There's a survey by Bankrate. 23% of the people who were adults when the recession started in 2007 say they are now financially worse than they were before the recession. That's over 15 million people. Another 25% they're doing the same. And where'd the money go to? According to the Economic Policy Institute, the biggest wage gain since the recession went to the 1% who got all the tax breaks. All you Trump lovers. That's what happened. That's right. According to the Tax Policy Center, that's where the dough went. Between 2009 and 2013, the average income of the top 1% grew by nearly 18%, while the bottom 99% saw their wages gain 0.7%. It's Slavelandia. You got it. The mergers and acquisitions, the multinationals getting bigger, cutting wages, bringing in more cheap labor. It's all we are, plantation workers on the multinational plantations of Slavelandia. German economy rocked by international trade disputes. Not trade disputes. The government is now saying that they're looking for growth of 0.5%. This is the strongest economy. So where's in Europe? So where's the euro going to go? Yeah, the dollar could be going down, but so are the other currencies, and they're going to lower interest rates into negative territory over there in Europe, and more quantitative easing. And Bundesbank slashed their growth forecast, as I've reported, this year to 0.6%. It was supposed to be 1.6%. So on to some international news. Great news. Over there in the UK, initial vote gives Boris Johnson boost in race for prime minister. Look at the freak show in a country near you. It's going to be a toss-up, man. It should be the Trump-Johnson show. Hey, they both got that fake blonde red hair. Oh, they're both freaky as can be. A great show for the presidential reality show. Yeah, presidential reality show, prime minister, Greenberg, iceberg. What's the difference? Two freaks in a country near you. Japanese ship owner contradicts U.S. official on tanker attack. Oh, they showed this grainy film of an Iranian boat next to one of those boats that blew up. The Iranians say, yeah, we were helping the crew to get off the boat. But no, they were taking a mine off the boat. That's what the Americans said. They disputed this. We received reports that something flew towards the ship, they said. And again, Trump was on Fox and Friends. How about Fox and Freaks? I used to be on Fox and Friends. I mean, it's a lightweight group of people. Come on. Anyway, this is what Trump said. Well, Iran did do it. And you know, they did it because you saw the boat. You saw the boat. I saw the boat. Lord, you could get away with it. Hey, how come you're not taking this off Facebook and every place else? This is fake news. This is a conspiracy theory. Oh, it's all right. Trump said it. The officials said it. Yeah, the official wankers. Anyway, well, Iran did do it, and you know they did it because you saw the boat. I guess one of the mines didn't explode, and it's probably got essentially Iran written all over it. Oh, yeah, the mine had Iran written all over it. How about all the bombs that America has written all over it that are slaughtering people in Yemen, Trump? Huh? How about those? Oh, that you just sold them more of. Oh, and I forgot the other guy, the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Obama. Yeah, he sold them too. A freak show near you. What BS. And then you got that other wanker, and it's proper to call an Englishman a wanker, because in America they're jerk-offs. We got that Foreign Press Secretary Hunt. He said, we're going to make our own independent assessment. We have our own process, but we have no reason not to believe the American assessment. We have no reason not to believe it. And our instinct is to believe it because they are our closest ally. Instinct? No, you stink. What do you mean they're the closest ally? Oh, I forgot. You're the murderous bastards, Tony Blair. He believed George W. Bush's instinct that Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Celente, lower your voice and be more proper, like those slimy limeys are, like Blair. How they say it so proper. And this guy Hunt, and you could take the H off and put another word in front of it, and it would be more appropriate to who this little girly boy is. Murderers. Mass murderers. Anyway, speaking of which, Syria says Israel hit military positions in the country's south. But hours after the incident, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a message saying that Israel responds, quote, decisively and forcibly to any attack against it. They didn't attack Israel, but he also went on to say, it is a systematic and consistent manner we are working to prevent our enemies from establishing attack bases against us nearby. Attack bases nearby. Enemies? Maybe Iran. Hey, maybe Israel planted that bomb on those ships. Maybe Israel did it, or Saudi Arabia or others, to get this war going, to boost up those oil prices. That's why the Saudis are doing it, because they need oil at $100 a barrel, as I keep saying, for their economy to break even, and oil's down in the 60s. And what else do we have? Hong Kong extradition bill debate delayed as additional protests called. Look at these people taking to the streets day after day after day after day. Not in the USA. No, they get on buses and they go down to Washington, protest for 5 hours, and then come back home and say, oh, we did it. That's how the Berlin Wall came down. The people never left. All we got are a bunch of cowards in this country. And they believe they're Democrats and they're Repulsivekins. And finally, what do we have over here? U.S. military is world's largest single producer of greenhouse gases. And that's a report from Brown University. They are responsible for 1,212 million metric tons of greenhouse gases between 2001 and 2017. And that gas is blowing out of the ass of Trump, Hunt, Pompeo, and all those other freaks that keep taking us to war. And by the way, they're doing a good job with those greenhouse gases. You ready for this? At least 36 are dead in India as temperatures soar to 123. But again, we just reported yesterday on Trend Vision 2020, they're a degree and a half off. They beat them over there in Kuwait. They hit 124.5 degrees. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.